grabs, underneath, I snap, arm bar, taking him down. Okay, notice the chest control of his hand as I do the arm bar. This is a different concept. This is a bent wrist lock. Underneath. Now you might recall this from before. This was the third technique I showed you before we set it up as a strike. We're going to go from the strike into a bent wrist lock. We go underneath, we lock it, as he relaxes his arm, I put the pressure on. Just underneath, over. Now what I like to do is drive the elbow down and up, underneath. You push with your right hand to accelerate the power, to increase the power, okay? You don't do this with one hand. You push with the right hand. So actually it looks like this. It's an eagle technique. The eagle locks on, it lands, and flies away. Okay, grab, you see it. There's an eagle in there. If he throws a punch with his left hand, I deflect it underneath eagle. Snaps it. Okay, it works that smoothly. That's one variation. Now he grabs, this is the same technique. I'm using a U-hand to clamp onto the pressure points at his wrist. Now if you don't want to use the U-hand, you can very simply drive your arm underneath it and just rake up against the ulnar nerve. Actually it would be the radial nerve. Underneath with a live hand underneath. So you're not worrying about grabbing it or anything. You're just raking the nerve going underneath it. That'll topple a guy. You can go backwards with the other one. Okay, these are very effective techniques. And it's me. Bent, wrist, lock, self-explanatory. Okay, you can go straight down to the ground, or if you want to move the guy, if there's other attackers coming, you can step forward and drive him into the other attackers. You have all those possibilities. This is a real interesting technique. It's actually a very photogenic technique. I break the attack, and I actually break his balance as I go across. I slip under the technique, go back and into him. The release. As I release, I snare it with the other hand. He's actually off balance as I go under his arm, stretch out, and go other direction, reaching all the way back. Arm lock, over the top. Chest control. This is a bent wing arm lock, a chicken technique, over the top. I lock onto the point and drive them down. Over the top. Now this is a direct attack against the ulnar pressure point, or the ulnar nerve center, which is also exposed when you have chest-to-chest contact. I drop my arm above it and rake it backwards just a bit. Notice the bent arm position. When you bend his arm like that, you have exposed pressure points. Now all I got to do is just touch that. See? So all it takes is a touch. But in a fight, you actually drive it down to the ground. Up, in, down. Now what you can do, of course, is you can do some damage if you want to. Now that has a special, unique application where you're doing an arm bar and the guy resists the arm bar. See, they'll resist it by bending their arm, and as soon as they bend their arm, you immediately go into that technique. Now that's my control, okay? Now if I get careless, watch how he can move out of that arm bar. Okay, it's not too hard to move out of. Now what I want to do is get him into a position where when I apply pressure on it, I've got control continuing, okay? Here is an example of what I'm talking about.